hi to the blondies.
Yeah.
Even though, if you're watching right now, I barely even look blonde right now.
Maybe you do because your natural hair is blonde.
We both have freshly washed hair, so this is a really special occasion.
But it doesn't happen often.
No, and it wasn't even going to happen. I was going to have plaits, so you're welcome. I'm Liz.
I'm Liliana.
Welcome back to Blonde Vibrations.
I feel like we need to address the elephant in the room. I feel like I've gotten that from Love Island because he keeps saying it. It is such good quality. If you are watching, it is amazing. We have a new ring light, and it is just.
Well, I don't think we addressed it on the last one.
So we used it last time, but it was daytime, so it kind of didn't make too much of a difference. But it's dark outside, and this looks like it's daytime.
And we also have the mics on in a very professional sense.
God, we've got so much hand movement.
I know. I feel like I've gone a bit washful. Not to 2 champagne whispers in a row be mentioning wash the teddy, but you just sit so polite, and we've realised that that's how I sit. I just have a very polite stance, and I don't know what to do with all this. I'm a very hand talker anyway, but I've learnt so much to do it with one and hold the other. So this is really weird.
I feel very free.
But this is obviously the way the mics are meant to be used.
So editor Becky hopefully is very happy with editing this audio.
It's all down to user errors, really. So if we've not done anything wrong, this should be working fine. And I don't know, maybe we need our hands a lot this week. So we're going to be doing a lot of explaining, advice giving, because we have we have our agony aunt caps on again today.
Yeah.
And that really means our pink t-shirts, because you said it looks like we've just seen Mean Girls.
It's true, we have just seen Mean Girls.
And then we just watched Renee Rapp on SNL as well, so feeling the vibes. But yeah, it's not quite Valentine's Day, but I feel like we always do Valentine's themed things or whatever themed things right close to the day, whereas this is you have 3 weeks to enjoy.
Yeah.
And if you're watching right now, I wore this top on purpose because I thought this is we're doing about dating, love life and everything. So I thought the kiss print, if you can't see, wearing kiss print pink and red little tank top thing.
Sweater vest.
Yeah, and I really want her to wear it at some point as well, actually, because just imagine it onto you. I think I almost feels like you should be wearing this and I should be wearing yours.
Yeah. Well,
that's not the case.
We swapped. Yeah, so we have 3 different scenarios that we're gonna talk through today. We've kind of gone for a smooth theme. They kind of have a similar vibe. But I was saying when we were planning, I feel like we've been exposed to Dolly Alderton a lot at the moment. I feel like it's really showing in this episode.
Dolly Alderton, and then weirdly, Pretty Little Liars, we're rewatching it, and they just get themselves into such hijinks, and they're all just giving each other little bits of advice all the time. Yeah. I know that's a weird one. You all thought I was going to say Sex and the City, but we did watch the Sex and the City film the other week.
I mean, it is also giving Carrie. My notes are so and just like that.
Yeah. So this is one general bit of advice before we go into the first one, because I put, obviously, Valentine's Day is looming. We've been talking about this a lot with our friend Caitlin at the minute. Just prepare yourself. If you're about to start dating someone now, just remember that Valentine's Day is in 3 weeks, just under a month. If you go on a date at the start of February, just realise that less than 2 weeks later will be Valentine's Day. If you start dating now, a month into you seeing someone's going to be Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I said this to someone at work, and they were I was well, the problem is that if you go on a date in the first week of Feb, the second date is going to be, and they were Valentine's Day, and I was why are you excited? No, but you know what? We are Valentine's Day fans of the vibe of it. However, every restaurant, every bar, everything is Valentine's themed, and that is so intense for an early stage date.
Well, I will say though, there's a good thing on that, is you're probably going to get some really nice dinner deals and stuff. So if you're talking to someone, it's the 8th of February, and they're what are you doing next Wednesday? And it turns out that's Valentine's Day. Oh God.
Well,
maybe we'll do some more scenarios and stuff kind of similar.
Always do the 2 meals for 2 dine in. But there is a way that you can. Sorry, we're acting like somebody here has been like, I have a first date on the first week of Feb. There is a way that you can date over Valentine's Day. Our housemate did that, didn't she? And I don't think, I can't remember it happening any which way. I think it was just very much. I
suppose, like, if it's really not that deep, you've only met them like once or twice, you don't really have to address it. Or if you're texting at that point, you should be like, happy V-Day, by the way.
Oh, I love like a little subtle, like, happy Valentine's Day. I think that's so, like...
Or just be like, I'm not seeing you on Valentine's Day, by the way, but I'll see you on the 15th, and, like, let's not make it a thing.
Yeah.
You could do that, or just, like, lean into it.
Or full send.
I actually love you now, so happy Valentine's.
Will you be my Valentine? Like, imagine how sweet that would be. I'm not asking you, it's your year.
No, I thought you were going to say, like, ask someone to be your girlfriend. I was like,
no.
I personally, that's a no from me.
We were talking about the possibility of your anniversary being Valentine's Day. And it depends, like, I'm kind of like, couples have so many days a year anyway.
I'm not pro that. But I respect if that is you, because you can't really help it. You've just been asked, and you're at that stage where you really like someone. You're not really gonna be like,
I don't like the date for the anniversary.
It's like someone proposing to you on Christmas, and you being like, that's my love of my life right there. But I'm gonna be like, no, ask again later, because it's like, well, that was the moment, and they might not ask again.
I feel like being proposed to on a certain date's a bit different though.
I said,
because that's like, you don't really celebrate the day you got engaged. Like, you probably like do a little nod, but it's not as big as like anniversary or like wedding anniversary.
This is so unnecessary to give you guys this detail about my life, but when I was in a relationship, I said no the first time, because, like, not because of the date or anything, but because
thought they were joking.
I thought it was joking. Yeah. Only because, and this is like...
And karma came back and bit her, guys. Don't worry, because Lord knows you're, like, doomed for people thinking you're joking now.
Maybe that was it. But no, only because he was like, oh, I'm going to do something. And then it was, like, just slipped into conversation. I was like, no. And then, like, later on, I was like, were you being serious? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh... Okay, but I mean, I would have said yes, but like, no, I said no.
Yeah,
now,
I
you know what
was
I mean?
joking.
I thought because of the conversation we had before that something else was gonna happen. But like,
oh, that's so cringe.
Yeah, maybe try not to do that.
We're getting off track.
Let's go on to.
We'll talk more about, like, maybe we'll do an episode on like Valentine's woes and like I don't know,
just Valentine's things.
Yeah.
Okay, the first dilemma. Was I met someone new, is it moving too fast? So just started seeing someone. Well, you can apply this to your own situation, whether you were introduced through a friend. God, that's weird, I've never considered it like that. Introduced through someone, or like on a dating app, or you just like happened across someone in your coffee shop and you were like, wow, like, oh my God, this person is so like not like your average Joe. This is someone else.
Joe.
like I don't think this is Jova. Like we're going full send with this. So like,
it's
how
John.
do you know? It's my uncle's called John, so it's not John.
I mean, they give you a John.
I suppose. I put immediately. It was like, this is such like long little like, my in-depth thing was immediately what is fast, because it seems like you're looking outwards to what is accepted in modern day dating, when really it could be different for everyone, because like to me, like fast could be meeting someone without like a foundation over text. Like you've been talking, but like I don't even know like your job, but you're asking to go for drinks. So like for me personally, that's fast. But like it could be, you know, I FaceTimed him 3 times and now he wants to go on a date. But that's too fast, even though the 3 FaceTime calls have been 10 hours. Yeah. Like it's
does that not count as a date at that point if it's like you've sat down and...
Yeah, because then going into like actual dating, like I think the difference between, you know, fast is different even between me and you. Like we probably don't feel the same. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because then if it's the other way round, we're like... Go meet them. Go for a drink or whatever. And when you're seeing it with someone else, it kind of is different. Yeah. Because I'd be like, oh, just seize the day. Go for it. But if someone's like, seize the day for me, I'd be like, but I don't know. Like, there's no, like, law. There's no context there. Like, I don't know.
Sorry, we're going to keep bringing up Caitlin because I feel like we're talking about this a lot at the moment. We had this conversation with Caitlin, isn't it? It's like, at what point do you meet with someone, and at what point do you go to the next stage? Because it's like, for some people, they just want the instant attraction, go for a date, like learn everything there. You don't want to know everything, because then what if you're sat at the table and you're like, oh yeah, like, yeah, work was good, I did this, and they're like, yeah, I know, you told me earlier. Like, are you not taking out part of the fun of kind of the slower burn and slowly getting to know someone?
But then you get like, so if I told someone what I do and they were like, oh yeah, I remember you saying that, but like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Or like, you said that, but like, go further into it. Like, you have a bit of like a base level. I know who you are, what you do. And also, in the meantime, if I knew, for instance, you were like a firefighter, if I thought like, oh, I'm not great, like first date conversation,
that's an icebreaker.
Yeah, it could be like, oh, firefighter. Okay, I need to like think of what some questions I would like to know. Like, not like flirty, but what do I want to know about firefighters?
Liz made the point that, so sorry to like air your own fear, but she's scared of going on a date with someone without them knowing she's vegan, because like things like that, like there's vital parts of your personality that you need to know at certain points, whereas if it's going too fast, are you skipping these stages? I was kind of thinking, we laughed when we were planning because I put it takes two to tango, but I meant it takes two to tango, so it takes two to set the pace. And I think like if it's moving fast, you're equally setting that. You can go as fast or slow as you want. However, I think in order to kind of move forward in a relationship, sorry if you're not like this, I think you kind of have to have this excitement and this spark, and that you want to see someone, you want to move forward. And I think, like, I don't know, not necessarily that you need to want to spend every waking moment with them. I'm not saying like you go on a date on the Saturday and then you see them Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I've not seen my friends in ages because I'm always out with this guy, but in like a sense of like, you're excited to see them next, you're excited to do this new thing with them or learn this new thing.
It's a good sign if you want to see them.
Yeah, but I think it's then easy to get swept up in moving really fast, because if you're kind of already excitable and this person's moving really quickly, you're obviously gonna like blend together and move fast together.
Yeah, it's really difficult because they're also like different paces of things can slow down, and then you could have like a really slow burn start where you texted a bit, but then you actually don't end up meeting for like 6 months, 8 months, whatever, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, it's almost like we've been making up for like lost time. But then I put also, is it meeting parents too quickly? 3 dates in a week? Is it I brought him to my friend's birthday when everyone else's partners who were there had been there for like 2+ years or whatever?
Or even scenarios like this date is a really relationship-y date.
I think my like bottom line before delving deeper is, are you happy and safe? Because you have the like, at some point you have to question, you being like love bombed or whatever, like are you choosing for it to be like going this fast? Well, you were saying it takes two to tango, like,
but you can also get swept away if someone else is
it has
the more extreme. It
has to be mutual. Like if one party wants to move at a slower pace but one is like, no, but I want to see you tomorrow, but like for me that would be like a red flag completely. If someone's like, we just saw each other yesterday and they're like, but what about tomorrow and the next day, I'd be like, hold your horses. You have to both be somewhat wanting to do it, because you'll end up like butting heads, and then you'll have to like you create this like bubble, but if you're not in that bubble together, then it's just gonna like pop completely. However, my like pros to this is, firstly, why not? For the majority of cases, if the vibe is right, if they're treating you well, and like at the end of the day, it is your free time, like you do, and there are like negatives that I'll get onto, but yeah, you have to maintain your friendships and stuff. But you know, like at the beginning, you naturally, one maybe would spend a bit more time with the person they're seeing than the friends, because you kind of almost have to build something ish. There's obviously like nuance to that, but like that's your free time at the end of the day, and if you're choosing, you want to spend your time with them, like you can. There is nothing to say that you can't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and I think sometimes it's more like it's easier to be excited and move fast with someone than it is to be nervous. I think the more you see someone and the more you normalise it, which some may see as moving quickly, the quicker your guard will go down, the quicker you can really get to know someone. Whereas I feel like sometimes if you move slow, you're overthinking your steps. And
You can get, like, what's the word? Stagnant as well. Like,
yeah.
if you want to, like, no one can tell you it's moving too fast if you're like, well, also, like, I just wanted to see him next week. Or sometimes things can just happen without you realising, and not in a whirlwind you're getting swept into it. But for instance, okay, we had something booked this Thursday, and then we both realised we wanted to go to this concert that was next Friday and had spare tickets. We went that week after. But then we were like, oh, like, we had a sleepover. And then the next day we were like, but we want to go get coffee. And then, like, these things kept happening, and we were realising, you know, the more we talk, the more we don't want to stop speaking.
Yeah, and also adult relationships, you can only see each other over a weekend. So if you don't see each other, say you see each other at the weekend, if you skip a weekend, that's then 2 weeks. And it gets down a very, like, slippery slope where it's, like, hard to fit people in. And if that's the only time you can fit someone in is close together, then is that moving fast, or is that just making dating convenient for you?
And if you, like, don't live in the same city, and it's like, well, you can't physically, like...
I'm only in that city for a few weeks,
yeah,
so I have to see you enough.
I live in Leeds, but this person's from Brighton. That is probably, I've never done that trip, but probably, like, over £100 train. I'm not going to do that for 3 hours, but I would do that if it was the 3-hour dinner, but then, you know, sleepover, and then a film the next day, you know, something like that. Like, you just would do a bit more if it was more worth your time.
See, this is a very different scenario, but to put it in perspective, our housemate's friend is currently visiting London. She's not staying at our house with our housemate, but our housemate saw her about 3 times in, like, 4 or 5 days, because she was like, I don't see her day to day, so I feel like I have to make up for the time. Put that into perspective. It can be the same situation for a romantic partner, someone you've just started seeing. If it's convenient and you're happy doing that, then what's the harm? Because there isn't, like, a set thermometer for how intense it can be at certain points. No one's going to be like, that's too intense. If it's making you happy and you're doing things you want to do and you're not concerned by how fast it's going, clearly something's right. Whereas I feel like, you know, in your heart if it's going too fast.
If you're questioning it, there's probably, like, even, like, in its most innocent, like, a slight reason why you're questioning it.
Yeah, you know, like it already feels like we're just married. Like, it feels very mundane, but I feel like I should still be in the honeymoon stage. Like, that in itself is kind of a little something in your head that's kind of like, oh, I don't feel like I'm in the right place for where I feel the relationship should be.
Then to angel your devil, you could be like... I don't know why I just said that.
That would have been so smooth if I didn't laugh at you. Sorry.
Okay, just pretend I never said that. So, it just got worse. Like, every second of that interaction just got more. To angel your devil. You made me pause? No, because it made me forget my point. To angel your devil, you could also be like, it feels like we're married already. That's all I've wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I've been single for so long, and I just wanted something to slot right into place. And we just went on 4 dates in 2 weeks, and it feels like that's my boyfriend, and I'm so pleased. And he's so pleased.
This is exactly what I want. I wanted a boyfriend, and I got it after 2 weeks.
Yeah, like, we were both so unlucky in love, and then we spoke and we never stopped, and this was, like, ideal. Obviously, assuming that you've already got to know the person in the way that you need to, but like I'm just so happy. Like, that could also be good.
I feel like throughout this episode I'm going to keep, like, mentioning Love Island. I'm really sorry if you don't watch it or if you're sick of it. But for example, for this is Chloe and Toby, where she's like, I've just got a holiday now. Like,
Georgia and Toby.
Georgia and Toby. Georgia and Toby was like, I feel like I've just got, like, a holiday. And she's like, I just didn't realise that this vibe was there out in the outside world, but now it's there. But she was happy with that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and he
like,
wasn't.
You were happy with that pace because you felt comfortable and you felt like that was the right place, but he didn't.
Yeah. So he's the, like, you have to be in the same place. You have to have, like, openly. I think it's the thought of, like, you have to discuss it. Like, maybe not be like, oh my god, so, like, we're moving really fast. Like, that's great though, right? But if you're like, I'm really liking the pace of things. Like, I'm really liking the way this is going because I kind of see it going to this point. And then he's like, I feel the same, then you're probably good. But, you know, if you're like, are we going too fast? And he's like, shh, we're not.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Don't worry about it. Like, then you're a bit like, why am I being love bombed? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I do have a couple of, like, not like negatives, but just like cautionary, like, just
notes.
Yeah. Like, and this sounds so like ominous. If what comes up comes down.
I did this.
the arms are touching.
No, I don't know where my note was, but it was like, the quicker you fall, the quicker it could go up in flames.
Yeah, because it's almost like adrenaline. Like, you're really in this, like, your emotions are heightened, not to get Vampire Diaries about it, but like they are, because there's not this like I'll stop touching my hair. If you're watching, I'm sure that's really annoying to you. So if it's kind of like a slow pace, you're building these feelings like over a span of like months, if you think that's slow, or like years, or if you think that's slow, whatever, then it can be like, oh, okay, like build it back down again. Or obviously big heartbreak, and it can still always end in tears, so at the end of the day, do what you want. But like if you've really applied a lot of pressure in one go, just for it to be like snatched back, it's a very like harsh reality.
Because if it goes fast, he's met all of your friends, like you speak to him all day every day, and it's only been like a month or two, you're then going to have to do the breakup process and the kind of recovery process as if it was a relationship for a longer period of time, which is going to be more frustrating for you. It's almost like I'm aware that grown people have like situationships and talking stages, but it's almost like when you're younger and you would talk to someone for so long, and then it would never materialise into a relationship, but then it would end. And then you would have to mourn that relationship, even though it was never an official relationship. It's almost like that, because you've put the time and energy into it without kind of the matching history and labels to attach that normally would be. Yeah. Which is really frustrating as like people who have gone through it. It's really frustrating, and sometimes that's kind of worse than getting over your typical romantic relationship where you've dated and then he asks you to be your girlfriend and things like that.
Because if it's going really fast, like obviously it could happen if you've had the conversation about moving faster, if you haven't. But if it is moving really quickly, you have the assumption that it is going well. And then for it to be taken away, it's almost like a whoa. But if you're in that relationship for a while, or things are going slow and steady, then there probably is more. There's just genuine chances to stop and check in with yourself and think like, is everything right? Is everything good? But if things are moving really quickly, you have all these next plans, and then suddenly it's like, no, for whatever reason, like they just got with someone else or something. It's a bit like, whoa. But
it's like driving.
Yeah.
Like the faster you're driving, the more you're gonna feel the emergency stop.
Yeah.
Like,
or like if you go into a tree at 10 miles an hour, there's gonna be some damage. But if you go at like 120 miles per hour, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like that's probably. I don't know why I just took your like
it
metaphor
just made it
worse. I'm gonna die.
Yeah. My final thought is just that I think if things are going fast and you're happy with that, we're not here to tell you no.
At the end of the day, who are we to judge?
I think there is value in if your friends are saying that you're acting a bit out of character, like this isn't really like you. I appreciate if you're happy, but just note that it seems like it's kind of being set by this other person. However, I also think there's power in staying somewhat guarded and being slow in other aspects. For example, like with your feelings, if it's going this fast, kind of what we were just saying, your feelings are gonna be at risk sooner. And if you're the kind of person that you can recover from really laying yourself out on the line and it just kind of being snatched away, if you're the kind of person who can recover from that quickly and then move as fast as you want, but if you know you're someone who's a bit more sensitive and finds those kind of like emotional attachments a bit more like special, then bear that in mind and don't let someone else who moves through the stages of relationships really quickly kind of upset that pace for you.
I kind of have some like similar like last thoughts. I've just said like, as long as you're not like isolating yourself completely, you're not like, because like I said, you're going to spend more time with this new person you've met to some degree, like you're always going to do that. But if you're suddenly like 5 nights a week, you're no longer seeing any of your housemates, you're just like gone to the wind, and they're like, hey, like we're still here, do you want to do something? You're like, well, no, I'm seeing him, and everyone else is like, again, but you just had him for like 4 nights, so now can we just have Friday night, you know, movie night with the girls? And then you're like, oh, can I bring him already? Then it's a bit like, oh, maybe slow the pace a little bit. And
you do have to think about the way, while no one likes to say it, you do have to think about the way that your relationship, especially if it's a new relationship, can affect the people around you. I feel like that's a weird taboo, to think like you need to consider other people's feelings outside of the relationship. But it is kind of true, especially if you have like close friendships, you have housemates. You kind of do need to think about the changing dynamics and making sure you're still putting the time and effort into those platonic relationships that can be just as important as romantic.
Because in that sense, you actually can spend 4 nights with the new person. If on the nights you're spending with your friends, you're giving your all into that. Like, no one's saying you have to 50-50 split your time. It's just the time that you are spending with your other people, friends, family, whatever, is still meaningful, and not you being like, well, why don't I just bring him? Or like, well, I'm going to leave early because I'm going to go to his or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes the whirlwind means that you forget about other things because you're so encapsulated by this, what feels like a huge romance and like the love of your life, which it may be, but I feel like you can sometimes get blindsided. Is that the word? Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
I don't know if blindsided was the right word, but like tunnel vision for
Probably
that person. You forget about the other people around you, and that will affect your relationships elsewhere, unfortunately.
Because you could still be the problem. Because I know, like, I feel like the start of this discussion were a bit like, are you stopping to check in or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, what's the other person like doing? They love, but you could be love bombing them as well.
Yeah, without realising. That's the
you
scariest
actually could
thing.
be. Like, not like we like to put blame on other people, like not necessarily, but you always check in like, am I okay?
Yeah.
But are you doing something wrong as well?
Yeah,
that is a question.
Because when your feelings are intense, the average person, you want to think the other person feels the exact same way, but it's not always the case. In an ideal world, it would be if you sat there and you thought, oh, I'm in love with this person after 2 dates.
So they have to
They
feel
also are, because I'm getting this vibe.
They might be thinking, what's going on?
Like this is going too fast for me.
Yeah, like I like them enough, I'll carry on seeing them, but I'm a bit like, why is this so intense? Like they might just like you enough to keep going with it, but you might be just treading the line at some point that then when they turn around and end it, you might be like, whoa, what?
Like we were going so well.
He was thinking, I just couldn't bring it up, the fact that it was too like intense. I don't know. My other points was just like, are you falling into what's like comfy, or like if you just got out of a relationship like a week before and then you start talking to that person,
you're just
and then
filling the void.
Yeah, like if you were living with your partner before and then you had this new person over all the time and you're like, this is normal. But it's like, no, it's because it was normal because a week ago you were with this other person you were living with and he's just moved out. It's normal to have a person there, but you have to break it down even, and then build back up seeing someone, if that's quick or slow. Yeah, who are we to judge? But at the end of the day, it is. If you are happy and content and it's mutual and you're like nurturing the rest of your life and you're not just like rotting with this person all weekend and then being like, I love him, so it's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like
we're just meant to be together, whatever way that may be.
Yeah. Good luck out there.
Yeah. I feel like that's such like a random note to end on. But at the end of the day, it's a case-by-case basis. But you kind of have the pointers there where like, this is okay.
Well, my
Finish this.
final actual sentence was, I think you have to do it. Because I know some of that was so just like, have you done this, this and this, whatever. But at the end of the day, you would rather go into something quite quick and face the car crash should it come than do nothing. Like, if you're that concerned, like, is this going too fast? You might end up ruining the thing that can provide you with so much happiness.
Sometimes when you spend so much time thinking about whether something's right, you miss it completely. Like, you could be sitting there thinking, oh, we've gone on 3 dates in 2 weeks. Is this going too fast? Should I wait till I next see him? But in trying to decide on whether you should see him again, he's not interested. Or like, the momentum's gone for him.
Yeah, and whilst that might be good in the long run because he might not be the person, if you can't wait a little bit of time and he just bolts, then that might be a red flag in itself. But if that could have been like a really good person, but that person was just like, I don't want to play these games.
Or like, I don't think they're that interested in me because I've just put all this effort into setting up 3 dates and then they've not done it back.
Yeah, because if when you're in your talking stage, you had said, like, before you met, like, I just love when someone plans dates. I love when they just, like, if I say I want to do something, they just put it into motion. And then they do those things, and you're like, oh, it's going too fast. But you've asked for those things.
Yeah, they're going to be thinking, like, oh, I'm clearly just not right.
Yeah, or they might be thinking, like, I've overstepped. I'm going to leave now. And then you're like, whoa, come back. But it's too late.
Yeah.
Because, like, this is such a weird sentence, but, like, the dating game is so fickle. Yeah. No one will wait around, and they will just find someone else.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later you might be like, no, I think that was a really good pace, and then you actually see them out on a date with someone else and they're allowed to because they don't owe you anything.
And unfortunately, if we're talking about early stages dating, it's brutal. Sometimes, like, we've said all this, but it's unpredictable. Like, you could be going the right pace and then someone's like, no. And it just happens.
I set up a date with someone. They agreed. I then tried to further that by setting a day and never got responded to. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Like, sometimes it just doesn't make sense and you're sat here being like, well, Blonde Vibration said this.
Yeah. But Blonde Vibrations can't get a date. This blonde can't.
It's just unpredictable, but I feel like that's why we put the emphasis on make sure that you're happy with the pace and everything, because if it's right, then they will also feel the same way.
When you know, Lana Del Rey.
The next dilemma we have is kind of, I feel like it's better just to pose it as the question of, like, how long until you can show the real you when you're dating someone, and you've also done a subheading of when to leave the honeymoon period.
Yeah, like, so the context is, if you've been dating someone for a while, you know, you're getting to know.
So the pace got good. Yeah. You were happy with the pace.
Yeah, the pace is good. Yeah, the pace is pacing, and now you're like, okay, I think it's time that the onion has layers. We're going to peel back some of those layers, and they're going to know me on a more deeper, spiritual, emotional level. But how long?
And also, I guess, getting to those more mundane stages of the relationship, if you are one that believes that eventually the relationship kind of has to not dip, but just kind of
just stabilise. Yeah.
Stabilise, yeah, that's the word.
I started by basically, I don't know why I've decided to just question why we're even questioning these. So I was like, it's just crazy that we even, like, put our best foot forward.
This is so similar to what I wrote to my intro.
Like, I do it as well, but it's so interesting that we present ourselves as, like, the best version, as if there's parts that would be, like, less desirable to, like, a suitor. Because, yeah, it is true on, like, your Hinge profile, you're not like, I am stubborn. Yeah. I am always right. Do you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't say those things even if further down the line
I want someone who can argue with me. Like, you don't put that on there.
Yeah. Exactly. like, you don't put it's meant to be this, like, walking ad, but then it's not. You don't actually, all the terms and conditions aren't there. It's just, like, the best deal you can get. That's such a weird, like, metaphor, whatever, but it's really easier said than done to be like, do it as soon as possible, I feel.
Yeah, my initial thoughts were similar and a bit different at the same time. I said I feel like we need to preface this by saying that if you can completely hide your personality, this is not about you. Because I think if we're saying like how long until I can show the real me, that's implying that you could read that and be like, I have been completely selling this different version of myself, and now all of a sudden I'm going to show myself to be this horrible, like completely different person. This isn't what we mean. I feel like it's more like the sides that you feel that are undesirable. Well, okay, but I think throughout and even on like your first date, you should still be showing yourself who you are. Just, I think what we're really talking about is not.
It's just more pristine version of yourself. Like if I was to go on a date and cover up all my tattoos, because I'm like, oh well, that's more like a third, fourth date. I can start being like, not like I'm old. Like doesn't literally know what I mean, but like like I have those things just in case on that first date. He's like, I actually hate that. And you're like, oh no, like, I wish you'd have found that out later. Those kind of things. Or like, you being like, if I had it my way, I'd wake up at like 1 p.m. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you don't want to say that, so you don't. You're like, I am a morning person. Just not.
Imagine.
Yeah, I imagine.
Like, I would never say. I think.
Imagine saying you're a morning person and then this person being like, that's the one for me. Hike next week? You'd have to be like, I just lied. I'm so sorry.
So sorry. My dream scenario is me waking up at like 9:30 every day.
You're like, I don't know why I just said that. That was a lie.
Yeah, I think it's easier said than done to say that you should always kind of act as yourself. I think we can say this as people who are very self-assured and people who have really worked on having the attitude to think, I'm just going to be me, and if you're going to stick around, then you'll stick around. I think that is a privilege in itself that I personally, and I think you are probably the same, I would rather go to a first date, lay everything out and be like, you know what, I don't like mornings. Like I think actually one of my hinge prompts right now, it's jokey but it's for real, that I don't want to be spoken to before my coffee. And I think that, like, things like that, like, I'm not saying you need to go in and be like, like, I have this really bad trait of letting my like coffee cups go moldy in the sink for weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you need to do that, but I think there's a certain nuance where you can be your full self without being abrasive and deliberately deterring someone. But I think we're both on the same page that you should always feel like you're being the real you. But I'm aware that the majority of people, especially when you first start dating someone, when you first start dating full stop, it's very easy to get wrapped up in, I need to be this perfect person who wakes up at 7 a.m, goes on a run, comes home and like washes my hair every 4 days. Like, yeah,
because one of my fears, and like I think since other people perceiving me as being shy, is like me going on, and that's obviously you just get more confident with someone as you get to know them more, but I'm really scared of going on a date and being really shy and that person liking me and then them thinking that they're getting into a relationship with this like wallflower really, like, that's timid, that's just gonna give them this like easy peasy life, and not that I'm a difficult person, but then at some point I'll switch and be comfortable and they'd be like, oh my god, like that, Ellis, what a weirdo, like
oh my god, Ellis, why are you yelling at like 9 a.m?
Like, why have you sent me that on Twitter? Like, that's not funny.
Like, why are you like Irish jigging in the kitchen while I make us dinner?
Why are you like basically telling the world you're Irish so often? Like, that's not good.
I thought you were just gonna sit in the corner and be like, do you want me to wash up, babe? But yeah, I feel like
I said that like it's really difficult because although you're not like lying about yourself, there's just things you hold back. However, if you are holding back from the complete picture that is being seen, the person is potentially falling in love with this version that they don't really know, and it's through no fault of anyone. You just haven't like obviously expanded as much as you could, because you're like, I don't know this person that well, so why do they know like the A to Z of a Liz? Like it doesn't make sense.
And it's natural. No one's expecting you to go on one date and that person know you.
Yeah, unless it's like the best day ever.
Yeah, for like every single part of you. I think that takes a few dates to get to the point where they actually like know you as a person, if not longer. Yeah. Because as humans, that's not how conversation works, not everything would come up. I was kind of thinking about the fact that there's no right answer, in the sense that no one knows everything about anyone ever.
Well, it's like what we've been saying, and I was talking to my manager about this as well. Like everyone will always have like a perceived version of you that's different to someone else, because they all know different parts, or like just different things you've spoken about or discussed, or viewpoints on things. It's really difficult for someone to know that the complete like 360 of you, especially on a first date.
There's some things that you won't know until you live with a person, or you cook dinner with a person, and you might be the kind of person that all of your dates are out and you're doing activities where, if, for example, like you could go on your third date to an arcade and someone will learn more about how competitive you are, your spending habits, like things like this. Or you could go on a second date where someone comes to your house and you cook them dinner, so then they see how you are in the house, what your house is like, how you cook. But these two different couples are learning different things about one another, and these two different couples could not do the alternative date and never unlock that side of the person.
You just changed my life. Like, if you were watching that and just like watch back at my face, like, because I was just like, you were saying about learning about someone's competitiveness and their spending habits. No one take me to the arcade. But or if you want to get to know me, take me to the arcade.
You wouldn't realise that. If you were always going for dinner, if you were always going for drinks, you wouldn't unlock those things. The same way that you wouldn't know how long someone is in the shower for, or like random things like...
You just have to hope they come up naturally.
How they leave their shoes when they've not got guests around. Like simple things like that. Like you actually will never know until you spend a long amount of time with someone, move in with them, go on holiday with them.
Holidays make
see them in their family home, see them with their home friend dynamics. Like you actually, like, once you get past the real you as you're putting like a front forward in the early stage of dating, you then have the real you where it's just you being natural and organic.
Yeah, it's just that level of comfort that you don't have to think about what they're seeing anymore. And if you can get to that point of showing the real, like, just unfazed version, like whatever comes up, comes out, like whatever just happens, do that just if you can and want to, like, as quickly as possible. Because I said to someone the other day that I think if you looked at me, you wouldn't put like Monster energy drink addict on my like personality traits. Like that's, you have to like see me in like at work or something settings. Yeah, like it's, you'll see, and I'm a different person at work and at home, so people at work would have to see me here to really get the full picture. And in that sense, for us it's really strange, because you could go on a date with one of us and then be like, oh, check their socials then, because I'm going to see them next week, so let's just see like a bit more about them. And then they unlock this. And they're like, oh, okay, what's this then? And then, because I would end up watching all of them and then be like, oh, I know too much about her. Like, how do I bring up, like, I don't want to mention Monster energy drink now in case she's like, what do you mean?
I heard someone be like, I started watching the episode and I thought it was weird because I like hadn't seen you speak yet, and then all of a sudden I'm watching you like speak to your best friend, like that's weird to know. But then at the same time, someone could watch the episode, but I think it's really interesting when you said that, it's how you approach things.
That's obviously very niche,
but that felt like a little like tick box, like if you're watching this and you want to go on a date with us, this is how you respond.
Well, I said, here's my, like, so you know how you brought up me being vegan earlier, this is where I put it in, because I've been saying recently that I want more of myself up front on Hinge. I have the fact that I have Leonardo DiCaprio tattooed on my leg on my Hinge now, because I feel like that's very, like, someone could find that weird immediately. But I also really want to show that I'm vegan on Hinge, because it's not to me just like, oh, dietary requirements, don't take me to a steakhouse. It's like, morally, like ethically, and also a practical nature of where you would go.
And
like
emotionally, I think that it tells you a lot about a person, how they feel about animals and like I think there's a bigger argument there.
Yeah, like that is me. And then if I was to hide that for 3 months because I was going out with this guy and, you know, we went bowling, arcade, all of these things were...
It didn't come up?
Yeah, unfortunately, just like, you just wouldn't. And we've been going for cocktails and stuff.
And
I was getting margaritas. Yeah, like, not that I was hiding it, but it just, for some reason, didn't come up. I think it would because of who I am, but like, it might not. And then...
As a like foodie, it would come up because you'd be like, they don't have any vegan options there. Like, I want somewhere with loads of vegan options.
Yeah, but like, if it just didn't come up because it didn't. And then a few months in, they were like, I'm going to take you to a steakhouse for our 3 months. And I'm like, whoa, but I don't eat meat. Like, yeah. And then they're like, but, oh, that's really awkward because I hunt animals. Now I'm going to be like, oh, God.
Because they could have hid that.
Because why would that
Why
come
would
up?
you know what they're doing on, like, on the first weekend of each month?
Yeah, if he's like, I'm hanging out with the boys, but hanging out with the boys means fox hunting. Like, it's crazy, but it could happen.
Yeah.
And then we're both like to each other, like, oh, well, I wish you'd have said that. But I'm like, well, I wish you would have said that you kill animals. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that could very quickly, like, we're really not compatible with each other. But at the same time, we like each other now. There's actually feelings. So I wish that we'd have just been real with each other through no fault of anyone's. Like, there's obviously examples that are a bit less deep than that. But, like, now we have to break up. Whereas, like, and that's going to be a bit more long-term feelings to get over. But if it would have been date 2, and I was like, before this goes on, I just want to say I'm vegan. Or, like, on the Hinge date, like, on Hinge, sorry, like, we might not have even matched because he probably would have thought, like, I kill.
I think what it boils down to is the, like, typical thing of, like, you need to know yourself before you, like, let other people into your life. I think if you're gonna seriously try dating and try seeing people and forming these relationships, especially when we're talking a lot about dating apps, that is, like, a whole different realm where it is, like, it's not the typical authentic, I met someone and they're learning. It's not the same anymore. Way back when you would meet someone, you would go on these dates and then you would unlock them.
You can see a lot more.
You can see so much, and I think it's so important to know yourself and be able to carry yourself with your main things in mind, almost as a builder sim. Like, you know what your core traits are, so you can get that across in the most concise and applicable way to navigate a dating world, to weed out those who you might find attractive and you might gel with, but matter of fact is that
it just can't work because there's things that will like tear you
even
apart.
Simple things like every Friday night they go clubbing. Every Friday night you're watching Mean Girls in the cinema and going to bed before 11. Like, there's simple things like that I think you do have to bear in mind, and that's why it's important to know yourself, so that while you may not be showing the bits that you never really want to show anyone, and I think that's a natural thing to have. I think everyone's got traits where they're like, God, I can't imagine telling a boy that. Like, it's also important to not be hiding things that you feel that you should be telling people, because it's a key part of you.
It's a difficult one, because you there's one part of you that's like, you know, like, if you're questioning it with a specific person, like, I feel like I'm holding back, like, there's just some things that I just, like, I'm like, I probably just shouldn't tell them yet, or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Why? Because, like, if you're getting to know this person, do you not want them to, like, unlock these things about you? Like, oh, I can't wait to, like, tell them about that thing I do, because I'll find that funny, or, like,
or, like,
it's
talk
weird.
about your passion.
Yeah, or, like, it's kind of weird, but, like, you know, they're gonna like me, like, for that. Well, not in spite of that, but they're gonna like that. That's a cool little quirk about me.
And
or whatever.
Talking about your traits and things about you is how you really know if you're going to gel with a person. For example, if you're saying, I really like Harry Styles. Like, I saw him, I thought of it. If I went on a date with someone, I said, I really like Harry Styles. Sorry, the camera died. But yeah, so if I was like, I really like Harry Styles,
my arm around you. Why did that?
I really like Harry Styles. I've been a One Direction fan for like over 10 years. I spend money to go see him. I have a huge poster of him on my wall. It's just a really important part of me. I grew up with it. And they were like, oh, really don't like Harry Styles. Like,
mid.
I don't see why people spend money going to see him. I think it's a waste of money. I don't like his music. It's trash music, this and that.
God forbid, a lot of men have been like, he wears dresses, so he's not a good artist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that is something that if you hadn't have been like, oh yeah, I love Harry Styles, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would never have come up. But now you know he's a bad person.
I'm not saying that you need to be the exact same person as the person you're dating. However, there's certain things where it's like, if you can't even respect the fact that I like Harry Styles, then we're clearly not going to gel, because you're not like appreciative of what I like. You're not even going to be like, well, you know, he's not my kind of thing, but each to their own. Or even better, like, he's not my kind of thing, but maybe like, you can send me some songs you think I like.
Or even like, it's not to say that you can't dislike things. So, again, not to bring up past relationship, but like music taste, I had a very different music taste than someone else. But it was very mutual respect. It's like, we're never going to go to a concert together. But sometimes I'll put a little bit of that music on. You never know. Like, I'm not like a hater of you for liking that.
It depends how high up it ranks as well. The same thing, if I was to be talking about my PhD and someone was just not to listen to me, that's so like, this isn't going to work, because I want someone who will actually listen to what I'm passionate about. Do you know, like, it depends how it ranks in your little pyramid of importance. Is that I could say, my favourite animal is a sloth, and they're like, I think sloths are disgusting. I'm not going to end a date over that. I think it's a bit mean. But I'm not going to end a date over it, because it's like, okay, well, how much is a sloth weighing up in my relationship? But if it is like, you're not listening to my passions, you're not even like
respecting
it. Yeah, then this isn't going to work, because we're clearly not going to gel.
Yeah, like a lot of these things, it's like your traits don't have to naturally line up. So as you're getting to know someone more and you're giving more, naturally negative more, you don't have to have the same everything. So when I go back to the example of like the vegan thing, I'm not saying that I want to put that up front because I want another vegan. Yeah. Like, you could very much be yeah, it's not to say that I need another vegan. Like, you could very much eat meat, be like, I'm a gym bro or something. Like, I just like to bulk. Or like, you know what, I can't help that I love to smash out a Nando's chicken on a Friday.
Yeah.
Like, although I might, to be fair, have a little bit of a problem with that, but like, if they're like, but I really like that, that shows kind nature, I really admire that, and you know what, I like you, so you can take me to a vegan restaurant.
I'll try it out because it's something important to you.
Yeah, or like, when I'm with you, I won't eat meat. I'm not going to change everything.
Wouldn't that be the dream?
Yeah, like, as much as I wouldn't ask you to be a vegan, you wouldn't ask me to eat meat.
Yeah.
Like, because why is it not working both ways? But like, if I'm around you, like, yeah, like, I'll have what you're having. Like, we'll share these meals because I respect that that's like a key thing about you. That's all you need. And then once you get like those things, I'll be like, okay, here's some even weirder things about me. Do you know what I mean? Because like, what you're learning about each other there is that respect.
Yeah.
Another thing was, and she has it on her Hinge, is like, what are your like opinions about? And it's Taylor Swift. That,
oh guys,
like, this is kind of going off of the point now, but ask a man what they think about Taylor Swift. And like, we do this sometimes, we'll just send like voice notes to people asking them their opinions on things. Yeah. Because their answer specifically about Taylor Swift is so telling. If they're like, love the music, or even like, not my type of music but respect, green flag.
So I did this on purpose. I have the 3 section, like the poll. And I've got Taylor Swift, Jack Harlow and Central C. Central C is just there for jokes.
I responded to someone about Central C today.
So I like them all. And yeah, I think the responses are so interesting, because I get so much hate about Taylor, and it's like, that's crazy. And then I'll get hate on like Central C, and I'm like, well, this is awkward because I like Central C. And it's also sometimes I'll have people message and be like, ugh, I hate Central C, disgusting, like I don't know how anyone listens to that. And I'm like, oh, that's such like a hateful, like I can't imagine being like, I can't believe anyone listens to a type of music. Because I am a very like music based person, I can't imagine someone having such like strong hate. I can't think of anyone that I would be like, ew, unless they've done something like nasty.
I was just about to Chris Brown.
Like, but
like that's like reasons beyond music, not just because of
and
the
it's
type of music
how
they do.
they respond to things. I think that's something really interesting as well that we're learning, is that sometimes it's interesting just to not to like lie, but to deliberately do something to see how someone reacts. Like see how someone reacts to like a no, and then when they kick off, you're like, glad I found out that then. Because
the Taylor Swift thing is really interesting, because some people will be like I said before, just like not my cup of tea, which is absolutely fine, because
she's got a couple good songs. I get that a lot.
Yeah, like love Shake It Off.
Yeah.
But if you're like, why does all she ever do is like
write about
men? It's like, well, you're not getting matched, are you?
I had someone message me and was like, oh god, I can't remember what they said, but it was something like, music's mid and all of the girls that like her are crazy or something like that, and I was like,
why do you think it's on her profile? Like
scroll through, like be for real, like please
read the room. This looks like a Taylor Swift fan.
The crazy thing is that I wonder sometimes if having Jack and Central C there makes it seem like she's the outlier,
but it's not. The others
not.
Are. Jack is the outlier.
Jack is the outlier. Well, I guess Sanchez.
So Taylor's the one to go for.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how people respond, and let's circle back to the main point, and that's why I think it's important to show the real you, and to put things on the line and risk an awkward conversation topic, because at the end of the day, if it was the right person, it wouldn't be an awkward conversation topic because you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. I think you can have differing views, you can have things that make you slightly less desirable to the other person, but I think ultimately if the vibe is right and the person is a well-rounded, nice human being, then it's not going to be uncomfortable, they're not going to kick off, it's not going to be like tense, it's just going to be like oh, that's not my kind of thing, but each to their own. And if it is any of those things, clearly it's not worth your time.
It's like, yeah, you want to seem desirable to the person that you kind of have like your crush on or whatever, but like you still need to be realistic in like if things come up, you're not going to be like, oh, that's I don't want to talk about that yet, because what if they don't like me or whatever, because they're gonna end up finding that out at some point. So I put here like, if it's like marriage and kids, like that is so important to you in your 3-year plan, that's what you want. And then on the first date, they're like, hey kids. And then you're like, oh, should I say that I want them? Should I not? And you're like, no, because I want to seem like desirable. Like, you know that's going to come up at some point, and then there's going to be feelings involved. But if you can do that whilst there's less feelings, so I'm not saying there's none on a first date, but like whilst there's less developed feelings, it's easier to kind of pivot out of. Or if it's like you want to go traveling for 3 years, but they want to put a mortgage down in the next 6 months, like you're clearly not compatible, and you kind of need to be talking about those things. Like, not saying you need to have like a marriage and kids question on the first date, but general
But also
pointers.
if it's a big part, I mean, if you're at the age that you want to be having kids, or sometimes there's like fertility reasons that it's like, I will have a kid as soon as I physically can.
Like, it has to come up now.
Like, I am dating to have kids. Then bring it up on the first date again. If it's something important to you, I think it's always worth bringing it up, because if it kicks off, it kicks off, and that's that.
They could turn around to you if you're like, I need to have a kid in the next year, so that's what I'm looking for. They could turn around and be like, I just wanted to like sleep with you, and you're both entitled to that. At that moment in time, if you have that conversation, you're like, whoa, we're not compatible. He or she is allowed to say that. You are also allowed to have your opposing view on it. Now you just walk away. But if you are into this situation 2 months in, and you're like, okay, well, now I kind of need to start trying for this kid, or I need to move on to the next stage, and they're like, this is casual, we're not doing that, I'm not being a person, then you know what I mean. It's awkward.
I'm not being a person.
I'm not being your person, your baby father. I'm not doing that.
Baby father.
But I said like you know, if it's just like little quirks and stuff like this, like just give or take. But if you're gonna get all the way down the line with someone and move in, and it turns out these things that you've both been like, oh, just leave that till later, it comes up, and then it turns out that you hate the person that they actually have become when they're comfortable with you, like, you know, opposing views in like what time you wake up, or like just anything, how you keep your bedroom, or just things like that. If it doesn't come up, you're going to end up like in a situation that you might just be like, God, I hate that person, or like I regret letting things move too
like,
far.
Even
now
like
I have to
simple
hurt them.
things. Like imagine if you and this goes to like I'm targeting you. But like imagine if you like tidied your room, it was spotless for someone coming over, and then a few months down the line they've like spontaneously surprised you. It's the work week. It's not spotless, and they're like, oh my God, like, have you been robbed? Like, this is disgusting. Like, what's happened? Like, you're okay? And you were just like, oh, it's just been a busy week. And they're like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like, things like that, it's like, that is more awkward than if like on the first date you're like, oh, this is something about me. Or I was late to a date and I was like, I'm not even gonna lie, I'm a late person. Like, I should have said before I set this up, I'm always gonna be late.
If you're,
you know, like little things like that, it's like, sometimes undesirable traits are only as undesirable as you make them. I think the worst part about traits that you think make you a bad person is the shame around it and the hiding about it. I think if you go and you say, I'm not gonna lie, I find the like weekdays really tiring, so I don't tidy, I don't clean, but on the weekends I do. I think if you own it and you're like, this is just part of me, or I'm working on it, like I'm not a morning person, but I'm really trying to wake up a bit earlier because I think it, like, you have to, like, things like that. Like, but I think what makes bad traits feel worse is when there's shame attached to it and there's always like this hiding of it and pretending to be someone you're not.
And sometimes it's the traits that you're on about aren't necessarily undesirable, they're just incompatible to that person if it doesn't match up. Like, if you went on a date, this isn't me getting back at you saying about the bedroom date, but like, just you saying about that morning thing's just like sparked this. If you went on a date with someone, you were like, I'm really easygoing, I'm so chill.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, throw anything my way, I'm so chill. So a lot of people actually do that because they don't want to be like,
I'm
like,
irate.
you know, if you tell me something,
I'm really irritable.
that was going to ruin my whole day,
Yeah.
like that type of thing. And then, so they're kind of like, oh, that's a chill girl. And then 2 months in, they give you some, like, it's not bad news, but it's just like not the best news.
Yeah.
And then you act in a way that they didn't think you would. Yeah. And it's not that, like, they're not a bad person for being like, whoa, but you said you were
chill.
No, I thought I could give you that because you said that in any situation
you're
I'm good.
calm-headed.
Yeah, like I can deal with that. But now it's coming to those scenarios where you have to, like, you've put that foot forward.
Yeah.
And they're giving you the ball to kick with that foot, but it's not the one you can do. Like, through no faults of anyone, I guess somewhat that is a lie. So that would be, if you're lying about things, that's your fault. But if you just, you know, they were like, I'm looking for a chill girl, and you were like, and then carried on.
You know what? Like, one thing everyone always says about me is I'm really, like, relaxed all the time. You know, like, I don't overwork. I don't, like, get stressed easily. You know, it's not true.
Yeah. If you are actively lying.
And it's me.
Don't.
I think we're kind of saying, like, oh, like, protect yourself. But also, it's not fair on the other person. Like, if
it works both ways.
If I went on a date with someone, said I was a morning person, 6 months down the line, we're, like, official, and then all of a sudden he's being forced to sleep until 10 a.m. He's feeling rubbish because he feels happier when he's up early in the morning, he's gone for his jog, but because he's at mine, he's had to sleep in and he feels really sluggish. It's not fair.
Yeah,
it's not because I've managed to, I'm not saying you would do this, sorry, But I've almost trapped him into this situation where he's having to put up with it when he never signed up for that. He signed up for a 7 a.m. hike to the Hollywood sign.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
Everyone, like, you're obviously gonna keep revealing more things about you as you get to know
And you're going to put your
someone.
best foot forward,
Yeah,
because
but-
that's how dating works.
Yeah, but don't paint this false picture or like mold yourself in theory to what the other person wants when you know you can't live up to that, and at the end of the day it's going to disappoint them. You're going to be like, why have I done that? There's probably going to be feelings involved, but then you're not really gelling, so you're going to have to cut it off. So you may as well have said in the first place, this is me, you should do what you want with that, and then he'd be like, I hate that. And no harm, no foul.
That's why it's so important to really curate dating apps, discussions and things like that to really reflect who you are, what your passions are, because it will make things easier. And I truly think that if you say something and someone doesn't react the way you want them to, or you have a trait that someone doesn't want, it's nothing on you. It's on them. In the same way that they could say something that you don't like and then you're like, oh, that's not my kind of thing. I think it goes two ways, and we're sat here being like, you have to put your best foot forward, but if you say this and they don't like you, then that's on them. You will equally be in the same situation, especially if you're just in the dating scene. You absolutely will be that person to be like, even like you reacted wrong, like it was a bad day, and then someone said, oh, actually, can I cancel the date today, like I'm stuck at work, and you were like, that is so messed up, I washed my hair this morning for it, like you're so unreliable. And then they're like, whoa, like that's crazy, that reaction's not someone who I'm looking for. Whoa. It's the exact scenario of what we've been saying could happen to you, but you're on the other foot and you just like reacted wrong, because we all react wrong sometimes.
Whilst you would want to know if you're not compatible to someone, it's a two-way street always. Like if you're thinking about something relationship wise, you always have to think of the other side of things. And it's even like, so we're having this conversation with Caitlin, name drop.
I like take a sip every time we mention Caitlin.
we with Caitlin have become like the city girls. Like we're like the dating city girls, even though she's not here anymore in London. She's, you know, with us. But we were talking about like on a Hinge, it's always Hinge. She was like, I don't want to see if it's looking for long term or looking for short term. And I was like, that's something I would 100% want to see immediately, because one of those things, if that came up later, whoa, I'd be like, like I don't want that, like one way or another. If I think bottom line is, if we were all a bit more open in an ideal world, it'd be great, because we'd have this like walking card of like, you could walk past someone and be like, incompatible, don't look at me, like just don't, like, it's not gonna
Black
work.
Mirror.
That's exactly what I was thinking, was a 5-star rating. Like you could, you know, magnet towards someone and be like, yeah, we attract because we're compatible now because of what we've seen online. But like, it's not always like that.
And sometimes you think you're going to be compatible with someone and you're not, which is like a very sad truth that everyone has to face, is that you can think this person is me, we are so well suited, but you're not. When it actually comes to it, you sit down and it doesn't work. Sometimes there's not even a reason. Sometimes it's not that you're not a morning person. Sometimes it's just not there. If
like to bring together everything is, you could have done every stage of the talking right, done at the right pace. You could have let them know about your traits and, you know, undesirable things.
You spoke about Harry Styles on the first day.
Yeah, they could have told you everything. They've laid all their cards on the table, and you could be like, this person is perfect. I've known this person so long, and this is like, I can't think of someone in this world that is like better suited to me. Like that is the person that's meant to be. But then it's like, but there just isn't the spark. Yeah. Or like, but that's actually, now that I have that, I don't want it. Yeah. Or like that, we don't challenge each other. Or like,
we have nothing to talk about. Like we have all the same interests, which means we all just saw the tweets about the red carpet.
Yeah. Or like, now that I look at you, I don't think I'm attracted to you. Do you know what I mean? Now I really look at your face, like, what? You're perfect for me, but you're not.
Like, there's just something. And isn't that so? I feel like there's another episode on this, and like, isn't that just so weird that sometimes it's just not. It's just not there.
Yeah. Like that sometimes just a homie, or like not even. Like we could be so compatible. I'm like, I don't need you in my life. I already have one of me. I don't need another one.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with that. Like
it's what you look for, isn't it?
like if boy me came down the street, Eli, whatever, like exactly me.
The male version of Alyssa's name, not like someone like a specific person.
If Eli or Ellis walked down the street, I probably wouldn't like them. Because you don't want a carbon copy of yourself.
Oh my gosh, imagine a male version of me walking around this house. It's barely room enough in here for me.
That's a good place to stop, I think. Like, that might be it. Like, stop thinking about us as, like, boys and thinking if we'd be horrible or not.
Becky's going to put us into, like, a, like, male generator.
Yeah, and then you're all just going to see a picture of my brother. That's boy me right there. Yeah. Right, this has been really fun.
Yeah, I know at the start we said there was 3.
Did we?
I think might have.
Oh, there's 2.
There's actually 2. We're going to cut one and put it into another week because we're trying to shorten these episodes a little bit because they started as 45 minutes and they're now an hour and a half, and it's not fair on our editor.
And it's not fair on anyone. Like, we know that you guys do watch it and stuff, but like, we can just do more episodes condensed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like we don't need to talk about everything all at once.
We like talking to you guys, just get a bit excited. We could have added an extra 40 minutes onto this talking about Whole Other One, and we didn't. That's growth. We're learning. So thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for watching or listening.
Yeah, if you're on a listening streaming platform, if you want to follow us, rate us 5-star, send it to someone. Send it to your talking stage. Yeah. Send it to someone and be like, test them. Be like, so what do you think about these podcast hosts? And if they're like mid,
like, why do girls listen to that? That's such a girls' podcast. Oh.
No, then you can block her. If you're watching us on YouTube, hey, this is just an extra hey for you. Subscribe to us and comment. Tell us like something in the dating scene that you're proud of doing, or like the steps forward that you're like proud of. I think that's sweet.
If you are on Spotify, there's also a little exclusive for you because there's some interactive features. If you just go onto what you're listening to and scroll down, there'll be a question and a poll. Should we try and think of them on the spot, or will there just be some? There's just going to be a couple. Just trust me.
Thank you so much for however you're digesting this. Yeah. Let us know what you want next. The next Champagne Whispers will be in a fortnight. Mm-hmm. And that will be February. That really will be Valentine's.
Well, is it going to be February when they're listening to this anyway? No. No.
Not sure. Can't work out the maths.
Not yet.
That's not for us.
No.
Yeah, so we'll just see you when we see you.
Thanks for listening and watching.
Goodbye, everyone. Love you.